Oh, yeah, we are back, right back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. When I was doing my show prep, I know the No Kings protests were going on this weekend, but it was seriously, it was a non-factor. Ultimate crash out. And like this unknown texter here says, did you see the Clarion the Clarion Liar pick of the No Kings rally? No people of color. In a city 85% black residents, the people in the photos are all paid actors. I'm telling you this, if you look at that photo, 95% white, 90% over the age of 50. It's like everybody's back in their they got their reclining chairs, they're all laid back, they got their coolers and everything. They're just chilling out. Turnout was absolutely horrible all across the United States, but I didn't hear a lot of chants of violence, which was good because the left is so overwhelmingly for violence now. Any time they get a chance to do it, they just seem to get fired up and away they go. But long story short, that No Kings rally was not good. And remember, the king is not Trump. The king is not any person. The kings and queens are the judiciary. They're the kings and queens. They're the only ones in this nation that can literally, besides the president, they can literally go inside and using the power of their court, do things that 99.9% of America will never do. Truly, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Brutal. Next story. So the Clarion said thousands. This was just literally texted to me as I was getting ready. Hundreds gather at the city. Hundreds gather. This is WLBT. So, I mean, there's a big difference between thousands and hundreds, but they don't even have a really good shot. Kind of disappointed in LBT. Yeah, everybody knows that nothing really happened at that thing. So but we've talked about the PTA, the school boards, and we've talked about how they're using this new curriculum package right here in Madison, Mississippi. It's called Wit and Wisdom. Talked about it a little bit in the past hour, but it has the full encompassment of subjects: math, literacy, science, services, resources. I almost want to go buy this and just read what it says. And I'm not sure how much Miss Lindsay's going to talk about, so I don't want to take too much time on it. But just know that it is right here in Madison County, Mississippi. Wit and Wisdom. I've shared it on X, so for those of you who want to go look it up that way. Chat coming in saying they like the hat. Yep, my friend Marie Thomas got this. The Gulf of America. We got to keep that going. People have asked about wow. So there's been a really big question about Turning Point USA chapters not being open. Yes, we're seeing it all over the country, and people are kind of mortified about it. People think, oh, if we want to start a freedom of speech group, it's okay, but as long as it's my freedom of speech and not the one that you want to do, they'll do a furry LGBTQ group, but they won't do a Turning Point USA group. And it's wrong, but that's the world we're living in, and we've got to try to claw some of that back. Speaking of Turning Point USA, the 29th, and at Ole Miss, Vice President J.D. Vance and Mrs. Erica Kirk will be there. Charlie's tour continues. There might be a few tickets left there. There's definitely a waiting list, so if that's something that floats your boat, highly, highly recommend. Turning Point puts on such great shows, such great events. And not only that, but have a chance to see our vice president in Mississippi. That's gonna be nice. We will have Jacob Lawrence on, who is the coordinator for Turning Point USA for most of Mississippi. We'll have him on the program later this week, maybe next week, to talk about everything that's happened with Turning Point. I'd love to have him in the studio just to sit there and say, "Okay, we found out we lost Charlie. What's going on with you?" And kinda get his reaction to it, because I'm sure it's impacted all of us in so many different ways. Yep. Just making sure I go through all my stories here the right way. This was one, when I saw this, I had to step back and reexamine how I feel. Life-changing eye implant helps blind patients read again. And I'm taking this from the British Broadcasting Corporation, so for what it's worth. It says that it's trustworthy, but I don't know. A group of blind patients can now read again and being fitted with a life-changing implant at a at the back of the eye. A surgeon who inserted the microchips in 5 patients at Moorfields Eye Hospital in London says the results of the international trial are astounding. Sheila Irvine, 70, who is a registered blind, told the BBC it was out of this world to be able to read and do crosswords again. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It gives me such pleasure. So, long story short, is we're getting to the point to where we can give people back their sense of hearing, their sense of smell, their sense of taste, their sense of sight. We're getting there, but would you put a microchip in your body like that? I know for me, it's a hard no. I'm just, call me old fashioned, but I'm just one of those people be like, you know what? They've got me hooked up to this thing. Someone breaks the Wi-Fi and turns up my whatever it is that I have to 1,000,000. Zzz, he gone. I don't want to put any chips in my body. I don't want to be able to do anything like that. But it's pretty interesting. They have actually this camera, and it's apparently got a wire on it, and it's got to go to a external CPU, but it's allowing people to read, and that's really awesome. If you think about it too, we've got people who've never walked or who were in motorcycle accidents and lost their ability to walk, and now we're getting technologies that will be able to get them back from that. I think that is exciting. I just don't like the bad things that come with it. And it's like we get all these great inventions and all these great technologies and everything. I'm like, this is going to help out a lot. But then I immediately think too, okay, what's man going to do? He's going to reverse it, make it messed up to where uh, it just goes down a road it was never intended to go to. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our next break. We'll be right back.
WYAB.
Fox News commentary with Guy Benson next.
If your cash is sitting in a savings account, it's at risk. Old school advice says save more, but today the strategy is broken. When inflation spikes, they print money or cut rates, your dollar shrinks. So do your savings. The solution? Own something real. Physical gold and silver. When the dollar drops, gold and silver prices rise. And with Noble Gold, owning gold is simple. Just visit noblegoldinvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The knowledge is free. The protection is priceless. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Here's Guy Benson.
The people carrying on the loudest about the genocide are the same people who aren't celebrating the end of the war and the release of the hostages. Many of them are critical of it. They're like, oh, yes, there's a genocide, but we're against stopping it. No one who actually believes that would say something like that. If you think there's a genocide going on and there's not, Hamas started the war. War is hell. They hid behind civilians. Israel did everything it could. It's the opposite of a genocide. The genocidal force in the war was Hamas. Explicitly, they say so proudly. But if you've been at least brainwashed or swept away in this whole genocide thing, you might look around and say, well, why are we against the stopping of the genocide again? It's because it was never about that. It was never about freeing Palestine or Palestinian rights. It's about something much more sinister at its core.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
If you've had an accident, remember Clinton Body Shop. We work for you, not your insurance company. Don't be misled by someone telling you that you will have to pay more than your deductible. Our shops hold multiple certifications from the makers of today's vehicles. We are the longest running ICAR Gold Class certified repair facility in Mississippi. We know how to repair your vehicle, and we will work with your insurance company on your behalf. In Clinton and in Richland, we work for you. We take pride in perfection.
Your roof is constantly exposed to the elements, battling dirt, algae, and stains. But with Watkins Construction and Roofing Roof Wash Service, you can keep it looking like new. A proprietary rooficide treatment is EPA approved, safe, and guaranteed to prevent algae from coming back for at least 2 years. No harsh chemicals, no damage, no black streaks. Just a clean, beautiful roof that lasts. Call Watkins Construction and Roofing at 601-966-8233 or visit nomoreroofstains.com today.
In the heart of Flora, there's a place where love, laughter, and comfort come with every cut, color, and style. At our family-owned salon, you're not just a client. You're part of the family. Come share a smile with Shelby, Henley, and Rhonda, ready to make you feel beautiful inside and out. Whether it's a fresh new look or a little time to relax, we've got the chair waiting for you. So step in and feel at home. Find us on Facebook at In Style Salon Flora.
Y'all come see us at Flora Animal Hospital, your trusted hometown vet. We offer a wide variety of veterinary services, including boarding. Dr. Kaylee McCary is a Madison County native who has been serving the Flora community and surrounding areas since 2013. She leads our team of highly trained and compassionate women. We are located at 740 Highway 49 in the Cotton Exchange Plaza. Call us today at 601-879-3222. At Flora Animal Hospital, we treat your pets like our own.
Hey guys, this is Casey Ellis with Ellis Auto.
3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is... That's exactly right. Turns out, shutdown...
Where we pay fair market value and we cut you a check on the spot. Need your vehicle service or repaired? We can handle that too. Shop us online or set your appointment at ellisautoplex.com. That's ellisautoplex.com.
And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show, steaming towards the top of the hour. Chris Tapia will be in the studio for the second hour. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a great show. Getting to pick his brain about running for office locally, what he sees as he's moving forward. And again, it's the little radio station that could. We just put stuff out there. We do our own research. We do our own work. We hustle. We move and groove. All right. We were sitting here talking about the schools, and I did have another story on that. But this was just sent to me, and we're going to see how many oh my goodness graciouses we can get today.
That's exactly right. Turns out shutdowns are different the second time around when it comes to Donald Trump. Take a look here. You know, we speak about Donald Trump shutdowns, net approval rating. We're talking 20 days into it. In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support. So the bottom line is this: the first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018/2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all. There's no real reason Donald Trump might say, at least when it comes to popular support, I want to get out of this shutdown.
What if think about that? You've got Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. Make no mistake, it's those two sitting here trying to figure out how to make this work and cause this shutdown to hurt Donald Trump, and it's only making him stronger. We've seen a lot of really weird stuff with polls over the last couple of weeks, and one of them was the 40-point swing. That you almost never see a 40-point swing that quickly, but it happened. And for President Trump to actually have his approval ratings go up in the middle of a government shutdown just goes to show you how powerful the president really is, how much he's respected and admired by so many people. Granted, there's a lot of people there that don't respect Trump and get angry with him, and fine, whatever. But the bottom line is that this president understands how to wield political power. He knows how to spend his political capital. This is something else too, friends, that I really want to stress to you. As you start climbing the political ladder yourself, you are going to gain money, but you're not going to want to spend it. What do you mean by gain money? You're going to gain political capital, where all of a sudden you're seen at 3 or 4 of the same events and you really understand what's going on. People are going to start watching you and asking you for your opinions on stuff. I so want that to happen for this audience. I think it'd be so great if we had so many of us who are just helping out there, our local school board, election board. Man, I'll tell you what, some of our election commissioners, they are working, moving, and grooving. It's going to take a lot of work to clean up our voter rolls. Speaking of cleaning up voter rolls, the state of Wyoming Secretary of State flags 3 possible non-citizen voters in all of his state polls. Just like that. I would love to see Mississippi get something like that. If you think about it, if the United States just took all of its very best practices from all the states and then applied them across all the other states, we would be rocking and rolling. Could you imagine if every state in the union had to follow Florida's ballot counting procedures? You know, as soon as the polls close, they're like 90% sure they know where they're at. It's great. Secretary of State Chuck Gray sent the notices to the elected clerks in each county, notifying them that the voter records that match the people in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Citizenship, and Immigration Selective Services identified as non-U.S. citizens, according to the statement from Gray office. Man, this is exactly how it's supposed to work. And in some ways that's terrifying. In other ways, it's not. It's terrifying if you're on the other side of it. If you are here illegally, if you are an illegal immigrant and you broke the law to come to the United States, I bet you it's scary to be here. You never know who's going to be coming around the corner. And we get it. People want to make better lives for themselves, but you can't jump the shark. The voter roll maintenance is in accordance with the new Wyoming law authorizing the state's top selection official to access the systemic alien verification for entitlements system, or the SAVE system, a national database designed to help states verify voter citizenship. My goodness, that just looks like it's a ball of wax waiting to happen. Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hey, talking about school systems.
Yep.
You know, we let them do something in Mississippi. It surprised me. They took history out of public schools.
Yep, I saw that.
And you don't know history, you lose it. You already know that. But
Yep.
I wonder why. Man, they put that on fast. But I wonder the purpose of it was just not to teach history and that people not know anything about history, and whether they repeat itself. Just a question. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think by them taking out history, they knew exactly what they were doing. If in the last segment we talked about their liars, how they've completely manipulated the education system starting back in the 60s to dumb us down. And they couldn't just take it down quickly. They had to do little slices. It took a long time, 50, 60 years in some of these cases. And it's to the point to where they can almost go out and be a little bit more vocal. They can be a little bit more in your face because they've had all this time. And you've got so many people out there who don't truly understand where our morals and values come from, and how to have that debate. And we need people on our school boards in our local community who are going to push that agenda, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I tell you something else I figured out. My granddaughter went to public school, but after she hit the 10th grade, we could look at her works and everything. It all went on computers. So, hell, you got to get on school and look on her computer and see what they're teaching in school.
Yep. Well, look, the thing here with AI coming out, you are going to see applications to learn things, learning Spanish, learning French. You're not even going to go to that kind of class anymore. Your AI will actually teach it to you for free. And you can ask it to do all the different dialects, American English. You sound different in California than you do in New York, and it's got all of this ready to go. And it's going to completely stand education on its head. I mean, right now, if your kid is having problems with math, all I can say is go to khanacademy.com and just start at the basic, right at the beginning. And within a week, you're going to be doing algebra well. There's so many other ways to learn out there, brother, that, you don't have to necessarily go to the traditional schooling methods that they're trying to bitterly hang on to.
Yeah, but also I noticed something else. These kids that's working at the convenience stores and grocery everywhere, if the computer go down, they don't know how to count money.
Nope. Dude, you are totally right. These kids have never played Monopoly in their life.
But I'm talking about making change and all that other stuff. I made my granddaughter, she got mad at me, but she can, pennies, dimes, count this up. But they don't know how to count 50 cents back from $1 or 60 cents. They don't. I got to look on the computer to do it.
We played combat Monopoly where we had to do all the math in public. And if you said the math wrong, you had a penalty. And, that free parking pot got really big. We played combat Monopoly. And my kids are...
I never heard of that one. So I guess I'm old.
It just, if you were supposed to move 5 places and you moved 4, you got a fine. Yeah, you went to jail. I mean, it was basically exercise in paying attention to detail, keeping your head on a swivel, trying to understand what's going on.
Yeah, and computing. I mean, not computing. Understanding what you're reading.
Yep.
And everything. Comprehension.
There you go.
Comprehension.
Well, brother, got anything else, my man?
That's all, and everything else. And you're forgetting one there. You're talking about public schools.
Well, yep.
Two things we look at that we don't never pay attention to: the election commission and school boards. Both of them are very important.
And they're
who we have on the election commission and who we have on the school boards. That's so important. And through years, it took me a long time to figure out. We got to make sure who we get the right people on the school board and the election commission to make sure it runs properly.
Yep. You're going to fix a lot of problems just fixing those two things right there. My friend, I really appreciate the phone call. I hope you call back again.
Yes, sir. You have a good day. Thank you.
Have a blessed one. I always love it when we get good calls in like that. You know, it's someone who's come in and they've been watching the problem for a long time manifest itself and bring so much to the table. People saying they've never played Monopoly or Combat Monopoly. Combat Monopoly just means that you pay a $25 fine. So you roll the dice, right? And you've got double five, so that's 10, but you say it's 9. So number one, you automatically have to pay $25 for the pot because you didn't say the right number on the dice. And then once you moved it, you had to pay whoever it was that was on the 9. So if it was 9 and it was a board where you had to pay, then you would have to pay that. Plus, then you go to the next one, and if you have to pay that again. So it basically taught you to be really sure about what you're doing before you say it. Kids today would be so better off if they had that. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show, 103.9 WYAB. Chris Tapia is in the studio. He's getting all situated right now as we move towards the top of the hour. It's going to be a great hour talking about Rankin County, Mississippi, politics, things that worked out good, things that didn't work out so good. And we are going to what? Equip the saints. Give you all that information so that hopefully you go out there and be a precinct delegate or a county supervisor or election commissioner or a county or a school supervisor. Yeah, we need it all. There are so many different elected positions out there that really need good people in it. And it's not that some of the people that are there now aren't good, but they've been in that job for so long. There's no refreshing of the ideas. There's no way to continue to how to track something. We just do things that way because that's the way we've always done them. All I can think about is Doge finding that cavern with all those retirees in there. We can only retire 10,000 a month. What? It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal what's going on. And it should have never gotten to this point. It should have never gotten to this point. But it did. And, when something like that happens, there's only one or two things you can do. The easy thing is just to put your ball down and say, nope, I've had enough. I'm going home. You literally check out from your reality and you remove the ability to actually have some positive influence because you just look at the bigger picture and just it's all so big, it's all so overwhelming. Nah, it doesn't got to be that way, man. It's not that way. People in power just want you to think that it's so difficult to run, that it's next to impossible. I'm telling you what, if people gave me 2 hours, sit you down and show you just how easy this is. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take an 8-minute break. We will be right back. Be blessed, everybody.
This is Central Mississippi's Stimulating Talk.
103.9 WYAB. Pocahontas, Jackson.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. Republicans turn up the heat on Democrats on day 20 of the government shutdown. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
This was never about a solution. It was about creating an issue. Now that Democrats have had their protest and publicity stunts, I just pray that they come to their senses and end this shutdown and reopen the government this week.
On social media, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says far-right extremists are trying to take away health care. President Trump just said he'll be signing an agreement on critical minerals and rare earths with Australia. He's meeting with the country's prime minister. After a weekend of bloodshed in Gaza, Trump envoys met today with Israel's prime minister. Jerusalem reporter Linda Gradstein.
Israeli press reports said the visit shows that President Trump is committed to the ceasefire that he helped broker between Israel and Hamas and wants to move to the second phase. Both Israel and Hamas have accused each other of violating the ceasefire. On Monday, the Israeli army said it opened fire on several Palestinian gunmen who approached Israeli troops in eastern Gaza City and posed a threat to them. Palestinian health officials said at least 2 were killed.
One of the world's top tourist spots, the Louvre in Paris, is closed after the weekend jewel heist there. CBS's Elizabeth Palmer.
It took them 7 minutes and a circular saw to steal 9 priceless objects, including a pearl and diamond tiara made for Napoleon III's wife, Eugenie, and a whole sapphire-studded set.
Amazon says it's getting its web services back up to speed after a major outage that lasted several hours early this morning. CBS News tech contributor Ian Scher.
The good news is this doesn't seem to be a hacking related incident. But it's still a reminder of how reliant so many of us are on Amazon, even though we may not be aware of it.
Well, CBS's Peter King has more on a weekend event in Southern California the Democrats criticized and had a big problem as it unfolded.
The California Highway Patrol says shrapnel hit one of its cars. No one was hurt. The Marines canceled remaining live fire over the highway. I-5 had been closed at the time.
Hello.
These drivers, less than thrilled.
Hello.
Was terrible, but we
Test,
just avoided
test.
it.
This is not great for the people. It's
Test. There you go.
The exercise was part of a White House-sanctioned Marine Corps 250th anniversary celebration at Camp Pendleton. California Governor Gavin Newsom called it reckless and a vanity project.
NASA's chief says the space agency is now seeking new bids for its planned moon mission to compete against SpaceX, indicating Elon Musk's company is running behind schedule. Wall Street, the Dow is up 350. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. See why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive.
And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show. We're moving and grooving, rocking and rolling. If you look on camera too, we got Chris Tapia across the way there. Go ahead and pull that close to you. Make it just as nice as you want it. Yep. And this is hour 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We are going to have open phone lines. So if you want to get involved, ask Chris a question. Number 601-879-0002. Text line is open. Feel free to tell me all the sorts of interesting stuff you're going through and being sent today. That's awesome. 601-879-5060. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It is the 20th of October, 2025. It is a Monday. And we are now officially streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. Clay been telling you, I've been telling you, Kim been telling you, Chip been telling you. We're getting a signal upgrade at the end of this month. 600,000 sets of ears will be able to get plugged into WYAB. We are excited for it to happen. We want you to listen in over the airways. But if you can't, you can always catch us on one of the streams. And we really appreciate you tuning in to our streams. The job here at the Andrew Gosser Show, standard. Here to equip the saints. Give you all the information you need to know so you can go out into the world and make it a better place by convincing people to your side of the aisle, one person at a time. As Rush would say, changing minds, changing hearts.
That's right.
That's what we got to do. Brother Chris, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend?
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, this is like we've been waiting for this, man.
I know, and it's been a while since I've seen you too. You look great. I'm glad you're doing well. Everything seems to be going awesome, and I'm really thankful for you having me here. We've been working on some stuff, but a little bit about me. We've been working on a lot of things actually, and I graduated from Belhaven. I'm a Pearl guy, Mississippi guy. Been here my whole life. Been involved in several different campaigns from the state, local, and federal level. It's just always been in my heart.
You got the bug.
Yeah, and I've been in food and beverage hospitality for 20 years, better part of my adult life. So serving is just one of those things that man, you can see a difference in people when you're truly trying to serve them. And when you are serving them in the capacity of government, and I think now more than ever, we are being called to serve people in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So it only makes sense that all of us, we step up and we start to serve people in the way that Jesus is calling us, and to use those gifts and to use those platforms just like you are here. And so again, I'm thankful for you having me here.
You bet, man. You bet, man. Anytime. So you grew up here, born and raised here, married?
Yes, sir.
How many Crumb Crunchers?
4 now.
4
now. We adopted 3 actually.
Wow, that's incredible, dude.
God blessed us. We had our little boy, and then we ended up adopting 3 little girls. Actually, my wife's nieces, they were in foster care in California, and we found out. So we were the only ones that were really able to take that on. And of course, you can't say no to that.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of worry obviously at first, but you come to realize when God's trying to bless you with something like that, and our story could end there, man. I say that all the time. God's blessed me with a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. They like the trophies I have in my office, and they think that's cool. And I, we could end it there. But we would be doing a disservice to them and to all of our kids if we're not doing more, getting engaged.
The whole adoption pro-life issue is so big on the right, and here is just another example of somebody on the right who is conservative, who does want to adopt. And it's so hard to adopt in America. I don't know what you had to do for your 3 girls, but I've talked to people who've tried to adopt, and kids are in foster care. They're in a bad way. They want to take them, and the court's just like, nope. We've got to do a better job of figuring that out.
Yeah. Some people may not like this, but that system's a little broken.
Yep.
Fortunately, we were blessed with a fairly easy process. I say easy process. It was about a year and a half. of going between state to state, ICPC, and just all the dealings. But
year and a half.
Yeah, it was a long time. You never think they're going to get here, and then once they get here, it's like you always hear, you're in the moments you're praying to God for, and so you got to be thankful for that. But it is very hard for a lot of people, and I'm really learning now, and we're actually working with some organizations and groups that help that. They're there to look for Christian families that want to adopt, to help them, because it is an expensive process for a lot of people. Some people don't have to go through that, but some people, we've heard instances where they simply ran out of money and had to stop the process, and they don't get that money back because for whatever reason they just weren't able to afford to continue going. So it's really unfortunate that it has come to that.
Yep.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, what if the churches were in charge of the adoption, and what if the churches kind of took over that process? And this is a pretty big organization. They said, well, in a perfect world, that's what it would be. I said, well, then that's what we need to work for, because if that's the answer, and you think that that's maybe a valid way of going about it, why shouldn't we do that? We should be pushing towards that. Those lawyers, all those people that are in those positions, are probably a part of a church too.
Yep.
So I think it's a matter of getting them together and agreeing that the widow and the orphan is something that we should be concerned with.
Yep.
And especially when we are wanting to grow families and we're wanting to have children, we should look at that option as opposed to just, having children. That's great, don't get me wrong, but some people aren't able to for whatever reason. So it's a blessing, and we are thankful for what we've got.
Dude, that sounds really good. So you've got the outline: born, raised in Pearl, Belhaven guy, never left far from home, happy wife, wonderful household. So what are you doing right now?
Yeah, so we are working on a organization called Stand the Gap. What Stand the Gap is, you've heard of Turning Point USA. We're more of a grassroots level. This is a decade in the making.
Okay.
And from the politics to the engagement to the grassroots movement, we were trying to engage those 18 to 40-year-olds.
That's the
and
ones.
really get them moving, really get them engaged, because there's so much out there right now. We were just talking about it. There's so much information out there that it's easy for our kids to get lost. And the social media, the fake news outlets, they don't know what's real news. And so what we want to do is we want to put familiar faces like yours. We want to connect these people who have been involved in Mississippi and are trusted conservative voices for that news.
Yep.
And also a place where they can find resources, such as those adoption ministries, such as Feeding the Hungry ministries, things like that conservatives should really be aligned with. So we're not just out there to have conversations, but we're also out there to challenge ideas, to encourage free thinking, obviously conservative principles and ideas, but also give them those resources instantly. You want to get involved? What can we do? That's what everybody's asking right now, is what can we do? How do we get involved? Hey, we got it right here for you. Let's plug you in.
It's amazing. A lot of these political organizations say, help us get our people involved. Help us get our people involved. And they're like, okay, we've got this, this, and this. And well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to knock on doors. I don't want to call people. They just want to be part of something. And the truth of the matter is, it's just like any military training out there. You are going to go through some craziness, and you are going to be miserable. How you respond to that being miserable and craziness will determine how far along you go down the line. And we haven't even begun to see the craziness of the left yet. We really haven't. You would think that, going after ICE officers or public speakers, that would be beyond the scope, but it's not. So you're working here between 20 and 40-year-olds, you said?
Yeah. We want to catch the youth in high school. That's for me as a young guy. I remember that's really when you're going to college, and it's like, what are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Yep.
You start thinking about how we're going to make a living, what university you're going to go to. Are you going to go to university? Are you going to go to trade school? And I think that we start to put a lot of pressure on our kids without really showing them,
Yep.
not only what are you really interested in, but how our foundation was supposed to be. So, we need to be teaching our kids, not just to take the easy road, but how to take the hard road, how to be loving, how to be caring, how to be good neighbors. Everything else kind of falls in place after that. I've noticed that, when we focus on those things first, we homeschool all four of ours. So thankfully we're blessed there too. And we're able to really put into them what we feel is important. The other stuff just falls in place, man.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I love the homeschool route. I believe in the school choice route. It's one of those things. When I was in a debate one time, and they were bringing up pro-choice and abortion, and everybody knew that I was the only pro-life guy up on the stage, dude. Illinois just bad. And I said, this is just such a serious topic. It's such a serious issue. I mean, think about it. This is going to determine this baby's life going ahead.
That's right.
That choice. And I believe that the mother has to have choice of where to send her kid to school.
Sure.
And like the whole place went nuts because they thought I was going to
talking
about abortion. Oh, and my buddy just looks over at me. He just like, only you, Andy, only you.
You did that.
Yeah. But the truth of the matter is that we need school choice, because what works for Chris and your beautiful bride might not work for me and my beautiful bride.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to have that. And I can't remember, I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said we've got a bunch of individual experiments in representative republic. So what works for Florida might not work for Mississippi, and so on.
That's right.
So you're putting together these different types of tools and stuff. What kind of things are you thinking about having with the organization so that when people say, hey, what can I do?
Yeah. So one of the big things we're going to be doing, like I said, is the high schools.
Okay.
We're going to try to reach as many as we can there and follow this youth, through college. We've established a good network across the state in our universities that's working alongside a lot of these turning point groups. We're not saying go start 2 groups, but we want to be there to help these kids whenever they get to college, so they have like-minded friends, they have like-minded people that they can have these ideas and share these thoughts with. And also when they get out of college, they're coming back to Jackson or they're going somewhere else. They're still plugged in to a network of pastors, business people, like I said, those nonprofit charities, and also just a source of news that is reliable to them, that they know this is where I can go and get fed by something that isn't just political, but it's actually truth.
Yep.
And then we just try to connect the dots.
We've got to have that ability out there, and in so many different languages and so many different flavors, because again, not everybody is the same, but once you make that first connection that first time and you see it all get together in somebody's face, it's pretty special. You're listening to Chris Tapia and Andrew Gosser here at the Andrew Gosser Show. We're going to take our first break. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. You are back on the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. And before we went to the break, Chris, you were talking about different things in place that you have some place to go. And it just reminds me of the most important part of being part of a church or anything, and I believe this with all my heart, is number one, being saved, but number two, fellowship. Get
That's right.
together and hang out. And I wrote that down as you were talking about the different things you can do to fellowship. I think it's absolutely critical. And I'm not just talking about politics. I'm not just talking about your spiritual life. I'm talking about your life in general, how you communicate to your spouse, how you communicate to your kids, how you communicate to your coworkers and your supervisors and those who are beneath you. You know, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. And me just following that and repeating that over and over again when I'm about to ready. I mean, sometimes I'll tell you what, get some of these callers, dude, and I'm just like, wow. But I throttle it back. I'm a nicer Andrew Gosser now, not going down that old one. So your first you've had your first podcast. You're going to have another podcast, right?
Yeah, we'll be going out with our second one tonight, 9:00. It's on our link. All our social media is up. Our website's up, standthegap.org. Podbean, YouTube, all that good stuff. It's small team right now, so we're having to build everything from scratch. But nevertheless, it is moving, and God's opening up doors for us. And a few of those resources, like you were talking about. We will do classes, we will do seminars, we will do summits. We'll bring in speakers to have a place where these youth can come and get encouraged, not just youth, but like I said, 18 to 40-year-olds, and have those resources available to them. And yes, fellowship. You were talking about it, and my wife and I were talking about it. I'm like, man, we pray every day before I walk out the door.
Yeah.
Because we are in a spiritual warfare. And we have to have that order that God intended for us. Men have to be connected to God, or it's not going to work. And sometimes even we think that we have that order, but if the man's not connected to God and we're not keeping God first, it's never going to work. I know, we went through that for a long time where you think you do, but you're just still butting heads and you're trying to figure it out. But through children, also I've learned some really beautiful things. Kids see things in a different light. They look at things and they're so connected to the world. And sometimes you have to separate them and say, hey, look, it's a dangerous world out there, but we have to be courageous for them. And like I said, we have to show them how to be better people, not just take that easy road of being silent and keeping your head down and working your 9 to 5, but no, speaking up for the truth and speaking up for the things that made us great, the things that made the family great. We've gone to separate, the things that make us who we are. And kids have just conformed to that so much. We send them off, and you've heard the term, don't be surprised when you send your kids off to Caesar and they come back as Romans. We have to keep that in mind, that, the government is raising our kids a lot of the times, and we see them, occasionally we see them at lunch or dinner, we see them at their games. But if we're not modeling that, and we're not perfect by any means, but every day is a battle for what you're going to do, whether, like you said, in the workplace, around your friends, or to your spouse, to your kids, and allowing to walk that way. It's a long and narrow road, but it leads to a wonderful place.
That's what gets me. I talk about my daughter all the time, but one of the things that we're really careful about is where you really need to just say, hey, a gentle correction, and here you go. And then, sometimes coming in and like, oh my gosh, you're going to kill yourself, and you're a little bit more animated and activated. The same thing that goes on with your kids, and it's the same thing with the political aspect of it too. The different ways to go after and attack a different problem. The website looks great. It's just standthegap.org. Highly recommend people check it out. They've got a Facebook page too that links up to there. What else do you have to talk about Stand the Gap? Is there some other things you wanted to bring up about it?
It's fairly fresh, like I said, but it's been a long time in the making. We knew, and obviously there's been an emotional reaction across our country when we saw what happened with Mr. Charlie Kirk, and I was watching a panel of pastors, and they were asking, what do you look for? Is this a revival? What are we looking for? It's not necessarily just gatherings of people, but is it breakthroughs, or what are we looking for that's going to show us these things? And I think we're seeing that in the movement. We're seeing a lot of people move closer to God. We're seeing a lot more people in church. We have, now that we have these people's attention, and some people may not like this, but we've been in politics, right?
Yep.
And we know that, there's people that run as conservatives or Republicans that aren't. And if we're not paying attention, that progressive liberalism will overtake everything, and then it's going to overtake Christianity.
Yep.
We see that in the Middle East. That's what Islam is. It's a government arm that has a religious expression.
Yep.
And if we're not paying attention, we could lose the same thing.
London is gone. France, Paris is gone.
Yeah.
Spain is almost gone. And people are like, Andy, how can you say that? We were walking around, and I'm always having my head on a swivel, situational awareness, making sure stuff. I love my sweet beat. I love my sweet toots, but sometimes they just, their situational awareness switch. They just switch that to off and go full raid and just going to go wherever. And we're walking down the side alley, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. And then written on the side is foreigners get out. We don't want you. Free Palestine. Death to America. I mean, just all sorts of stuff. And this is right in Spain, and in like you're 2 roads off of the main drag. So that is bubbling up everywhere. And, with some of these organizations that like to tell us how bad we are, we're anti-Semitic and this, that, and fascist, they truly do not understand what that is. And I'm even more convinced now more than ever that it's not just Americans, but the West in general doesn't realize what this type of conflict is. And it's going to be brutal, and it's going to be rough.
Yeah, that's right. It's a complicating thing, to talk about. But, what we saw with the Israeli hostages being freed, that's something that we can only, thank God for.
Yep.
But we have to keep in mind, Hamas is they're still going, they're still doing what they do. But this conflict has been going on my whole life, as long as I can remember. And that's not going to stop.
Don't. Nope. It's been going on for about 2,000 years, actually.
Yeah. And Islam is
a little longer than that.
It's like you said, it's the predominant religion in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing peaceful about it. There isn't. There may be there's Muslims that may practice peacefully, but like I said, that whole religion and ideology is conform or die.
Yep.
Plain and simple. And the more it grows, the more that it becomes, intolerant as well. And the more that it takes over, the more it becomes intolerant to Christians. And that's dangerous.
Yep. Well, and again, just getting back to, this is the thing that comes across to me, Chris, and I wonder how you look at this. People look at me and say, Andy, you want to go back to 1980, 1970? Yes. That'd be great. But at the same time, we wouldn't have all this technology. And I'm like, I would much rather go back to that and have a simpler time where, I can remember coming home from school and making sure that our garden was good to go, because the next day we were planting, 60 or 60 plots of corn and 60 green beans and the tomatoes and the cucumbers. And, these kids today would be completely lost if they had to grow their own food. And for me, I hear it all the time. The president talks about food security. Different people talk about food security. And, it's kept on such a low boil that we don't get really excited about it. But that's going to be a big deal, too. So I don't know if that's going to be something that Stand the Gap does. Look, we're going to take our next break. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Andrew, hey, this is Steve.
Hey, Steve. We're in the middle of a commercial break. Can you hang on just for like another minute?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'll be right back.
All right.
Thinking that yesterday. I was like, man, this is the most chill government shutdown we've ever had. Somebody take a picture.
These guys are just so far gone. No one believes what the hell they're saying.
I think it's, they're trying to make it out to be a big deal, but honestly,
No.
administration's kind of like, let's just ride it out. Like, let's just, see how it goes for them.
Wow.
So who's out of this? Is everybody out of this studio, or I saw different rooms, or how does that work?
Everybody, this is the only studio.
Oh, really? Okay, I was like, I see the signs, and I feel like I've seen some familiar stuff.
I love it because it's just a simple studio, dude. It's nothing. Yeah, nothing crazy. I get this to look nice, and everything else can. You know how that goes.
Yeah. Yep. So how did? Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's just different. The YIB and the radio station. How do you get your radio station started?
Oh, yeah. You are tuned in to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We've got Steve on the phone.
Right here on
Steve, go ahead and turn down your volume and let's have this conversation. What's going on, my friend?
Andrew, just
a word of knowledge.
Yep.
On this AI that's coming into effect, now. I was listening last year to Glenn Beck's show,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a theory on it, and said, the people that were loading the information into AI have completely loaded the King James version of the Holy Bible into the edited. This information has been edited. They've taken out the abominations, the homosexuality, yada, 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 the several abominations, and framed those words to make it look like it's all innocent, to be able to do these things. And you can relate that to the scripture when Jesus said, my people will perish for the lack of knowledge. So being on the safe side, make sure, believers for sure, do not take your information from AI that's coming into scene lightly, because most of the information is going to be for the left side, for the evil side of this battle that we're in spiritually. And it's going to continue. I mean, like you were talking about being in the 80s. Yeah, we never witnessed or seen any kind of commotion or ill commotion like this between two political sides, except for what we learned in history. And it appears, to the truth be known, all that we're doing in this day and time is just repeating history. And so I just want to put that out there, Andrew, and maybe you'll get some feedback, maybe not, but hopefully people take that to heart.
Steve,
Thank you, buddy.
I appreciate the phone call. Chris, you're very technology savvy. I know you. How are you using AI? Have you noticed anything in your daily surfing with AI where you're like, man, I never used to see this, and now here this is? Do you have any examples of that?
Man, I have an interesting view on that. I and some people are going to like this. I think it makes us dumber. I really do. I think it stops you from thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's probably a little bit of good in there because it is allowing you to get a source of information. But if you just take that and you're like, oh, that's it. That's it. That's just like taking Wikipedia. We saw what happened there. We saw who that's bought by now. We saw how that's going. It's gonna be the same thing. So that's how it goes. It's expected to get you to trust it, and then you trust it a little bit more, and then you start using it as all your information. And the next thing you know, the information has been replaced. And I always say, be careful of those who are trying to rewrite history. And they're trying, to rewrite history. If in school we spend a lot of time on not a whole lot of time, on the founding, but more on the indigenous and those type things. We're separated and we're divided at a young age, and we're not paying attention to those truths. And then you spend a week or two on the founding fathers and the Constitution, then you move on to other things. And so we, like I said, that's another thing that Stand the Gap's going to be doing, is we're going to be pushing those core principles that we are missing in school, that are going to allow us to teach our children, hey, this is where you come from, and you have to keep these things first, because it's all there. What's plain is simple, and what's simple is plain. It's in that good book. It's written down for us. It hasn't changed, and we have a perfect map of how to do it, how to live it. We don't need AI. We just don't. I think there can be some good about it, but let's face it. We all know whenever somebody sends an email and it's done with AI, and it wasn't really them.
It's terrible, dude. It's like, what?
It's getting a little out of hand.
What were you thinking?
Yeah.
But my thing with AI is especially SOAR too. Before you actually were interneting, it was, it's photoshopped. You can totally tell it's photoshopped. Now it's like, is this real?
Yeah.
is this real? Because you were looking at video, really high-end video, and if you didn't see the little Sora 2 logo pop up for a second, you would have no idea that it was AI, and it is so believable. And it just reminds me of the internet back in the olden days, when you get on the internet and you actually searched for something, you could actually find it. But over time, it's been warped and diluted into what it is now. And I'm sure AI will continue to go down that same track.
Mhm.
With the organizations, are you focusing on regional area, county, different districts, or how's that going to work for you?
Yeah, so it starts right down the road. You know, we focus as close to home as possible, but we have a network of people throughout the state that are going to focus right there where they are. And that's the point is whenever we have people that are inspired and encouraged to get involved, we want them to look, to see, and to have people that they can talk to, that they can get in contact with and get involved quickly. Not wait, because that's what happens. You lose encouragement and motivation by sitting around waiting for a callback or something to happen. We want to have instant action. We want to have things going on year round. We'll be working on some petition work for the upcoming legislative session starting now, because that's
sweet.
stuff that we can just go ahead and start doing. And that's some of the stuff that some of the national organizations, just there's things that we can do here in the state a lot better than they can do. And then whenever they have things going on, that's when we're going to look to each other like, hey, we need your help to get this legislation moving.
Do you have any petition ideas that you can talk about right now, what you're wanting to do? Or
we've discussed closing primaries and getting that going. That's one of the main things.
I never understood why Republicans wanted open primaries. It's just not good. And those of us who are Republican, we see it.
Well, I think it was Republicans disguised or Democrats disguised as Republicans that wanted open primaries.
Well, that could be too, especially in red states where it makes it a little easier for the Democrats to hide. Yep. For me, I want it to be, and this is just my idea for where I want to help. And it's like great thing. I can give you out here and talk about the stuff that you're doing, and then maybe come back in a month or two and tell me a lot what you're doing, kind of like Blake does. And you and Blake both are like really big inspirations out there, because you're going out there and actually doing work, stuff that needs to happen. And in politics, I'm just to be truthful with you all, whoever does the work is going to end up getting the credit. If you're out there knocking all those doors, they're going to remember you. I'm not saying you're going to win, but they're going to remember you doing all those things, whether it be the mailings, whether it be the door hangers, whether it just be doing local fellowship just between your neighbors. I mean, all those things add up. What I try to get people to do is be the one on their street that everybody goes, I'm not sure what's going on in the election, but I know this guy, Andy, over here.
That's right.
And I tell the story. I legally voted for Joe Cheerio about 4,000 times. And just by people asking me who I'm voting for, saying this is who I'm voting for, and then people just and
well, that's where you build trust. That was one of my favorite things was knocking on doors, because I knew I had the direct influence right there to stand my case on why this is the guy or woman. And you can send mailers, you can put commercials out, but there's nothing like the personal touch. And there's so many methods, if you will, of how to go about these campaigns. And I mean, man, nothing's as effective, I think, as getting in front of people, having a conversation, because that's where I won the most votes. I know in my campaign, I mean, I knocked on over 2,000 doors, and that was way more than I had to. And we got a small fraction of that to come out and vote. But we made an impact, and we remembered, or those people remembered, whenever things come back around, that you're doing the work. And then that work is long and excruciating sometimes, but that's where people see that you care, that you're willing to sit down and have those conversations, as opposed to hiding behind a screen or just sending out mailers. And there's nothing wrong with those things. But get in front of people. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be, if you're afraid to have a stance, Your stance probably isn't right, or talk about your stance, excuse me.
Mhm.
And that's what I always say, these people that'll get out and have these forums and talk and have these town halls, like, those are the ones, because they have nothing to hide and they're not scared to get called out. We've all been there. We've all probably done things we're not proud of, but when you're a Christ follower and you've surrendered your life to God and you have truly, truly believe that your obedience is what matters to him, the outcome is already there. It
Yep.
doesn't even matter, win or lose, doing his work. And that's what he wants. That's what this is, man. It's doing his work. It's not my work. It's not the credit for me. It's to show God the credit. And like I said, if we can encourage and inspire, one young person, just, or at least, my 4 young ones at home, then that's a win.
Yep. And that's the whole thing too, what you build up now, you're not going to be able to see the fruits of this for such a long time within so many of these kids. I can remember working on a campaign for Congress. This guy was running against our sitting congressman, and I didn't know anything about politics. I was actually helping the Democrat, and I leafleted my entire neighborhood. I did like 4,500 doors in a day and a half, and they're like, "Wow, this is great!" And he actually won that area, and people were really excited about it. But those are just types of little things you can do, and from that, it grew into its own. Ended up being a chairman, an electoral college voter, and all this other stuff. I mean, it's fun, but at the same time, it's like you never know where it's going to take you.
Mhm.
I'll give you the last word, then we're going to hit commercial break.
Yeah, and like when people see that you're out there for a candidate, in the 90-degree Mississippi heat,
Yeah.
knocking on doors, and they say, "Well, this, you're out here doing this for this person. It's got to be a true belief, but you got to be able to stand up for it." We've seen a lot of times where they're, paid actors out there just
Yep.
passing out stuff to do it, but you have to be prepared. You have to speak boldly, and that stuff. You encounter some people that aren't very happy that you're at their door sometimes, but
Nope.
that is just part of it, and we have to have. I always say, knocking on every door, talking to anybody, just a biblical worldview and a Christian worldview of it, because that's really where the tolerance comes in of people, and that's really where we can have
Mhm.
conversations.
Yep. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our last commercial break. We'll be right back. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show. Last segment. I'm here with Chris Tapia. Brother Chris, you got 2 minutes and 40 seconds. What you got for us?
Man, so you hinted at this a little bit, and Stand the Gap. We want our youth to get involved. Our school boards matter, protecting our parents' rights, the curriculum oversight, making sure that schools are, having fiscal responsibility and tending to those core educational needs. School choice is super important to us. We have to have strong policies. We have to have people involved, and we have to counterbalance that activism. If we're not getting involved, guess what? Other people they're already involved.
Yep.
So we have to set an example for our kids. Like this is what we have to do, and it's what we do is going to shape, I think, the moral and the intellectual development of the next generation. So that getting involved with your local politics, we have a lot going on. We have a governor's race coming up in 27.
Gonna be huge.
Gonna be a big one. Gonna be a big one, and there's a lot of actually food supply and security issues coming in there as well, which I think is a good thing. And then like the most important thing, our precinct delegates. That's where you can get involved the most. Everybody's like, what is a precinct? Well, that's the closest group of voters, as close to as you can get.
Yep.
They're focusing on that voter education and registration, getting out the vote. And they're really that key person between the people and the party. So it's a grassroots foundation. That's what Stand the Gap's on. Voter turnout, that's what especially between the 18 to 40-year-olds. Having a local voice and true representation for our young people, and like I said, a candidate pipeline and a party pipeline for those conservative values is super important to what we're doing.
Chris, that's awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming in for letting us know about Standing the Gap and everything that you're doing. Dude, we'll see you next time, all right?
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you in about 22 hours. Take care. Be blessed.